Hi everyone, welcome back to Box of Delights. I'm showing you something I've been really looking forward to for a while. This is Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze. And why I'm interested, Unmatched is a series of games. I've actually been buying different sets, and I had this on pre-order, so this has just come yesterday, and it plays 1 to 4. So we're going to see how Unmatched plays, which typically is a two-player duel where you each pick a hero and you skirmish against each other with a deck of cards. Unmatched Adventures gives us 2 villains that we can pit our heroes against. It also comes with 4 heroes in the box and those 2 villains. So at the moment it's limited to 2 in the solo. You're always fighting one or other, Mothman or the Martian Invader, but with any of your heroes. So I'm interested to see how this plays. I've not played yet. In fact, I've just taken off the shrink, and it had a couple of extra things. There was a sticker which said special first edition exclusive foil cards included, and also this came. When I pre-ordered, I wasn't expecting anything. This was sitting outside the box when it was delivered from the store. So some deluxe tokens, it says. They look pretty neat. So why don't you join me and we'll learn how to play Unmatched solo. So we've got a Mothman board. So this one's going to come with its own set of heroes and villains. We've got Martian Invader. Cool. Alright, so who do we have? We have Mothman, Martian Invader. We've got Annie Christmas, Jill Trent, Nikola Tesla and Golden Bat. And let me show you some of the other sets that I've bought previously. So this is the first set I bought. This one was called Cobble and Fog, and it had the Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula and Sherlock Holmes. Quite an eclectic mix. But again, you can pick your hero and play 1 against 1. The other set I bought was, and I've not actually played this one, Robin Hood and Bigfoot. I told you it's eclectic. But I mean, you can get like Marvel heroes and things like that, yeah? So different sets. So those are the ones that I'd chosen. All right, but we're going to look at this today. So let's get everything punched out and crack on. Actually, just before we do, let's finish having a look inside the box so you know what's in here. So we've got the board, but look, these look fabulous. So we've got some, and here's our 4 heroes. We've got some tokens in here. And a deck of cards for each of your heroes. It's a nice design. And I'm guessing a deck of cards for the villains and the adventure, the game itself. So a whole bunch of cards to play against. Alright, let's crack on then. So, we're going to learn how to play this game solo. And it looks like a co-op mode as well. 1 to 4, it says. Okay. Alright, join me back at the table once I've gotten this stuff punched out. Here we are then, all done, ready to go. All the little bits in their relevant sections. This then they go careful putting these little spindles together. They take quite a bit of force. I found if I laid them on a flat table and pushed down with something like this, that helped, but not anything you're worried about getting dented. So we go. The rulebook says to start with Mothman, as it's slightly easier to comprehend, I guess. And incidentally, there's all sorts of little bits in these little cubby holes. Okay. Right. And there's our tokens. So I found out what those are for. These are to replace these. Right. So I didn't order them specifically, but because I pre-ordered, it looked like they were available for a time. But you don't need them. They're just something a little prettier, I guess. Alright, one comment on the foil cards. I've stuck mine underneath here because you don't need them. And the reason why is I looked to use them And basically all they're doing is replacing one card in the deck. So there's nothing new. It's literally, I mean, they are pretty, but it's literally replacing one card. Okay, and you might have multiple copies of these cards as well. So for example, there's 2 of these, 2, 3 of these in your deck, 2, 2, just replacing one of them. But unfortunately, the back is a slightly different colour. So I've just left them in the baggie. I'm not going to use them. They're just a pretty thing. Kind of a little collectible, I guess. All right, so there we go. But that's it. We're happy with the standard cards. The board is double-sided. So this is Mothman's side. This is the Martian Invader side. All right, I'm going to get set up. So I'm just going to follow through the instructions and then we'll look at some gameplay. Okay, Mothman starts with a health of 10. It's 10 per player. We're playing solo. It says I need to pick a random minion. So we've got like Tarantula, the Blob. There's Loveland Frog, Jersey Devil, and Ant Queen. All right, so we're going to choose one, and Skunk Ape there. So one of these 6, and in here is an initiative card. So if you look through, there's actually one initiative card. Yeah, there we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's one per minion type. So what you can do is just give them up a little shuffle. And if you want to just pick one, I fancy taking on the Tarantula. You just pick the Tarantula. Yeah, it's up to you. It's your game. If you're playing solo, it doesn't matter. But if you want to pick one randomly, shuffle up these 6 initiative cards. All right. Let's see what we get. And we've got the Tarantula. Okay, so Tarantula it is. So the rest of these cards can disappear. Then you'll need to find the token. There's 6 of them for the minion you've chosen. All right. Doesn't stand out very well on the board. So why don't we choose a different one? After all that, let's go with the Blob. We'll go with the Blob. There we go. All right, take their minion cards, give them a shuffle, and I'll continue setting up. Incidentally, if you are playing multiplayer, it's 1 minion per player, all right? So if you're playing loads of you cooperatively, there's going to be lots of different minions. All right, I've reached the point now where I'm just going to choose which hero I want to play. So this could be a hero from any other sets I wished, or a hero from this set. And I may as well use a hero from this set since we're here, and since it's nearly Christmas, let's go for Annie Christmas. Incidentally, it said put the Blob in any space adjacent to the Mothman, right? So the minions just go adjacent, connecting. So I've just chose to put it here. There's 5 spaces coming out of here, so you could choose it randomly. But there we go. Let's choose Annie Christmas as our hero, and Annie has a sidekick called Charlie. Yeah, they're great miniatures in this game. Nice. I've not touched them. This is how they come, right? They come with this little kind of ink wash on them. My starting health is 14. Charlie has a starting health of 8 as it goes. Our deck needs a shuffle and we need a starting hand. And that's normally 5 cards. Let's take our 5 cards. Incidentally, there is an advanced variant that uses these amazing events. I'm not using those today, but maybe we'll look at those at the end. There's room for 4 players here. Mothman's on space number 5. So assuming I'm player number 1, I'm going to start on space number 1, which is up in the top left here. But you could choose a player number randomly. So why don't we do that? And typical, player number 1. So we're going to start up there anyway, but just to add a little bit of variety into your solo game. So those are the initiative cards. We're going to start in spot number 1. your sidekick needs to appear in the same zone. You can choose where. So let's see. Let's put Charlie over here. Over here, over here. You can see the map's divided into circles, and circles are different colours, and the colour it's in determines its zone, or circles in the same zone are the same colour. You can also see some circles belong to more than one zone. They've got more than one colour. Now there are some player order tokens in here. So you can, and you might need these bridges as well. There are some tokens that you can assign to everyone so they know which player they are. So if you wanted to, you could randomly deal these instead of the initiative tokens. Alright, so we're playing number 1. Let's have a look at our hand. Alright. Charlie is a bit of a card sharp. Better together, it says, so maybe Charlie needs to be near Annie. I don't know. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Let's shuffle up these initiative cards. Oh, we're not quite finished. We do need to place these bridges. So it tells us there's some additional setup for Mothman and for Martian Invader. You can randomize these face down if you want to. And they're going to go on these bridge spaces. So that's bridge 2 here. Truss bridge. We've got bridge 3 here. That's a drawbridge. Bridge 4 over here is a covered bridge. And then lastly, bridge 1 up by Mothman here is a suspension bridge. On bridge number 1, it says to place a Doom token. And that would normally be one of these Doom tokens. But if you're using this little expansion that we had, you want to, you can use one of these Doom moths instead. Right, this time I think we really are ready to go. This threat track, we've got a threat marker here. It starts at number 1. So in this game we've got the Mothman or the Martian Invader. The villain has an objective. For Mothman, it is destroying a bridge. If it reaches the end of this threat track, it will destroy a bridge, right? If it does this 4 times, there's 4 bridges, then the Mothman wins. The villain wins, we lose. We win when we defeat the villain. Remember, the villain's got 10 health, and this will be scaled up on player count, 10 per player. Enemy cards will say when to advance threat. Mothman's initiative card will advance the threat, and it's going to advance it according to the number of Doom tokens out there. So Doom moths mean threat goes up, means Mothman destroys bridges, and we get closer to losing. Right, and of course this deck here will be used to have them attack and defend, or indeed move, as well as other effects. The rules of the game are pretty straightforward. We draw an initiative card. One of his names on this gets to take a turn. On our turn, if you flip over the back of your hero card, it'll tell you what a turn looks like. You get 2 actions, and with each of those actions you can do one of 3 things: maneuver, scheme, or attack. So maneuver is basically drawing a card and moving your fighters. Scheme, playing a scheme card, one with this lightning bolt. Or attack. Attacking is how we're going to do damage, knock our opponent's health down to 0, and ultimately win the game. Now there's also these bridges, and we'll look at those when we come to them. Special rules have been introduced for this map. So let's go. Let's see who gets to go first. It is the Blob, one of these minions. Although there's only 2 villains in this game, and as I say, you can bring your own heroes to take on those villains. Given that there's 6 different minions, that offers up a lot of variety. And if you add to this as well that you can play this co-op, so even solo, you don't have to play one character, you can play 1, 2, 3, or even 4 multi-handed characters cooperatively. And the game will kind of come alive a little bit more, I think, with more characters, because you can play combos off each other, you can maneuver and help your teammates out, And even doing this solo, playing two-handed, three-handed, is going to give you all sorts of different combinations to think about. And remember, let's say I'm playing two-handed, there'll be 2 minions. It's 1 minion for every hero. So as you can imagine, this creates all sorts of different permutations for how the game sets up and plays. Right, Blob, what does he do? So the Blob takes a turn, it says. You'll notice there's 2 parts to this card. There's the part in white here, the Blob takes a turn, move 3, and then this part in black. This says end of round, okay? So we're going to put this aside, and we're not going to do it yet. We'll only do this part at the end of the round. But as you're playing, you'll want to be aware of it. It says that at the end of the round, the Blob places an acid token in their space if there's not one already there. These are these acid tokens that deal out damage if you move into those spaces. So it's kind of laying traps, nasty, damaging acid traps around the map. For now, Blob's going to take a turn. So if they're adjacent, they're going to attack. If they're not adjacent, they're going to use their move, which was 3. So move 3 to move towards the closest hero or sidekick. And if they're equidistant, we can choose. So they can move through friendly fighters, but they can't end on the same space as another fighter, and they can't move through enemy fighters. Now they're trying to get adjacent. So as they move 3, can they get adjacent to one of our fighters? Yes, they can. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, nice and easy. 1, 2, 3. That one doesn't. They can't get close to Annie, I don't think. Yeah, they have to move down these lines. So 1, 2, 3 it is. They're moving adjacent to Charlie. If they couldn't get adjacent, if there's no target within their mood value, then they won't attack, they won't move. Instead, they'll advance the threat meter by 1. The key to moving enemies is remembering it's always player's choice, right? Which is neat. That's great. I like that they ruled it that way. Okay, so they're next to Charlie and then attack. Now, how do they attack? You take the top card of their deck. Here's the Blob's deck. Let's give it a quick little shuffle up again before we get going. This is Mothman's deck, and they're going to attack with this card. Then the defender, in this case Charlie, will look at their hand. Now what you'll notice is in my hand we've got multiple cards. Some of these cards are usable by Charlie, some are by Annie, and some by any. So Charlie or Annie. Alright, so Charlie can't use these 2 cards, but can use any of these 3. This is an attack card. This is one of those scheme cards I talked about. And there's cards with shields on. This card has an attack and a shield. That's a versatile card. It can be used for attack or defense. Okay. So we've got a few options for Charlie. I mean, they could do nothing, could choose not to defend. But it's early days for Charlie. Better Together recovers health, so I'm not using that just yet. Bottom dealing. Reveal the bottom card of your deck. Increase the value of this card by its boost value. And this one says draw 2 cards. I quite like the turn in the river. It's got a defense of 2. Maybe we'll play this card. Once both cards have been played, we reveal. If any of these cards, you notice the text on the bottom, have an immediate effect, you'll resolve that. We don't have any. This is an after combat effect. Here we've got a during combat effect. It says add +1 to the value of this card for each acid token in the Blob's zone. We haven't laid down any acid just yet for the Blob. And then we've got an after combat effect. So we've got 2 after combat effects. We'll come to those in a moment. They're going to resolve after. This separate effect here is divided by a line, a separate section. This is a defense effect. It would only be effective if the Blob were defending, but they're not, they're attacking, so we're only looking at this. Okay, so after combat we've got a couple of things to resolve, but now we apply combat damage. This is the attack value 2. This is the defense value 2. We subtract the defense from the attack, so 2 minus 2 goes down to 0. If the Blob had done damage to Charlie, then we would just be reducing their health on this dial. But they're good, they've survived. 2 minus 2, 0 damage. What this means is that Charlie won the combat. The attacker wins if they do at least 1 damage, so 1 or more damage. The attacker is deemed to have won the combat. The defender is deemed to have won the combat if they took no combat damage. Okay, if this is reduced to 0. There might be some other effects that do damage, that doesn't count. You can still, as defender, win the combat and take damage by some effect or something. But 2 minus 2 is down to 0. Defender wins the combat, and that's important because there may be some text effects here that says if you won the combat or if you lost the combat, right? So look out for that. So Charlie wins the combat, no damage is dealt. Now we go to after combat. Now there's 2 after combat effects. So which one resolves first? Defender always goes first. So we get to do after combat, draw 2 cards. Beautiful. 1, 2. So we've got an any and an Annie card. And this one says, after combat, place an acid token in each empty space adjacent to the blob. Ouch, that's painful because there's 4 empty spaces adjacent to the blob. Empty means it doesn't contain a fighter. Minions, sidekicks, heroes and villains, they're all fighters. Adjacent means it's joined by one of these lines. Okay, so there's an empty space adjacent in 4 places. Yuck, that's made it a difficult place. They've really trapped us in this corner here. Good stuff, good stuff. Oh my gosh, we're properly trapped in that corner. Now these cards are discarded. So I'll create a little discard pile for each player. And we're ready to move on. Now note, we do have a hand limit of 7 cards, but you only check at the end of your turn. Discard down to 7 cards. So I could be holding more than 7 cards, which is why this turn in the river is such a great little boon there, played in defense. We've given our hand a little boost for the start of our turn. Okay, let's see what happens next. Yeah, it's not pretty in the middle there, is it? All right. Next up is Mothman. Mothman takes a turn, and also they've got an end of round effect. Right, so we're going to ignore that. Then they've got a move of 3. So they're going to do exactly the same stuff, but obviously they're going to be drawing a card from this deck. So same as a minion, they're going to be trying to get, with their move, as close as they can to one of our fighters. 1, 2, 3, so they could come here. 1, 2, 3, they could come here. 1, 2, 3, yeah, they can't get to this space. So it's either here or here, so they can't end the turn here, but we can choose. And actually, I think, well, we can't get out without going through these spaces. Incidentally, with these little acid blobs, there is a thing you can do. So if Annie moved in here, let's say, that would give her 1 damage. Now, if Charlie came out with 3 movement, has Charlie got 3? Oh, no, we've got 2 movement, haven't we? Yeah, 2 movement. I mean, you can boost it, but let's assume that, let's say Charlie came over here and then tried to escape 1, 2. Charlie wouldn't take damage from the acid because this friendly unit kind of blocks out that acid, if you like, yeah? So Annie's taken the damage. Charlie doesn't have to. But if Annie came out like this, 1, 2, and then Charlie came through, he would take the damage. Right? So look out for that. It's a nice way to kind of think about how to coordinate your movements. For now, though, where do I want the Mothman to go? Here or here? I think here. Because I want him to take on Annie. It's going to be Annie's turn next, and she could potentially hit Mothman. Yeah, I like this. Let's do this. Okay, so Mothman's coming in. He draws a card. I'm just going to give this a shuffle up. Let's just see what comes out. And then, do I want to play a defense card? Yeah, so I'm thinking about keeping your hands to yourself. She also has lanyap. Lanyap is an old Louisiana word. It means something a little extra, like a little tip or a gratuity, a little extra thing, maybe an extra helping, or I bought a board game and they threw in some bonus tokens for me. A little lanyap. All right. Here you can see the lanyap is a string of beads. Annie Christmas. I had to go and look this up because I wasn't aware of who she was. But again, from Louisiana folklore, Annie Christmas kind of fought her way up as a strong, independent woman. She'd lost her husband and had many sons, but she fought to become a keelboat captain on the Mississippi, and she'd defend her dominant position from all those rival men, and for every man that she defeated, she would add a pearl, they said, to her necklace. And her necklace ended up being like 30 foot long, given how much stronger she was than most of her male contemporaries. So you'll see that across the theme of her deck, this pearl necklace. There is an option to not defend at all. I mean, that's an other option. But I kind of like the idea of this one, just to try and get us out of this hole. Keep your hands to yourself. And there's Annie fighting off all challengers with her pearl necklace. Alright, Annie, let's see how you do. So this is a versatile card. It can be used for attack or defense. Like I said, I could choose to play none at all. And that's important, actually, because having Annie take her health down, Mothman's only got 10 health. If I was playing for 2 players, it'd be 20, 3 player 30, co-op. But she has an ability. Her Necklace of Pearls says she adds 2 to the value of her attacks if she has less health than the defender. And currently Annie's got 14. So I don't mind taking a bit of damage just to boost her attacks. But here we are. Let's try and get out of this hole, I think. What does Mothman have? A visage of impending doom. Now, it has an immediately effect, so we've got to do this straight away as soon as it's revealed. If the printed value of the opponent's card is 4 or higher, it's not, it's 3, ignore its value. Okay, so we're okay. We didn't play a high card, so the immediate effect doesn't do anything. And we've got 2 after combats, so we'll come to those in a second. But the Mothman attacks for 3. We've got 3 defense. We win. There's no damage. Let's do after combat. And remember, as defender, we go first. Move each fighter in the combat up to 2 spaces. Mothman's is if the Mothman won the combat, add a Doom token to each bridge. We don't want Doom tokens. Doom tokens push up threat. Threat damages bridges, pushes Mothman towards victory. But we're good. We did win the combat. All right, let's move each fighter in the combat, so that's Annie and Mothman, up to 2 spaces. Now bear in mind, it's going to be us next. So think about where I want to be. We can't get Charlie out of the way. Now Charlie's ranged. Annie's melee. So Annie has to be adjacent. Charlie only has to be in the same zone. So it might be that I want Mothman to stay. 1, 2. I might want to push Mothman back here. Charlie comes up here. He is going to take it. I mean, it's unavoidable, really. And he's going to take a damage for moving through that spot. So she's down to 13. The suspension bridge. I mean, this is a good spot to be in. I wanted to move Mothman away so I can get round next to this bridge. Because the suspension bridge says, after completing a maneuver action, if we're adjacent to a bridge, we can activate the bridge by discarding any card from my hand. And this one says, reveal the top 2 cards of an enemy's deck and discard 1. So we can kind of get a little insight into what our enemy might be doing next time. The covered bridge here says a fighter recovers 3 health. So that's the place you can recover health. The draw bridge says we draw until they have 4 cards, so we can fill our hand back up. And the final bridge, the trust bridge, says move a fighter up to 3 spaces. So we can push any fighter on the map around. It could be one of us, one of them. Yeah, fighter's a fighter. Good, I'm happy with that. I'll move each fighter in the combat. Yeah, so that's those 2 done. These are discarded. Additionally, if you discard a card to activate a bridge, let's say I discarded this one, you look at the boost value. This one's got a boost value of 2. You can then remove that number of Doom tokens from the bridge. It's a way to clear out Doom. So being next to bridges gives us a strategic edge, trying to keep Doom down. All right, it's going to be us next, isn't it? So let's see. Yeah, player one activates next. And this is where we get to play the cards. Remember, it's 2 actions. So maneuver, scheme, attack. And you can play 2 different ones, the same action twice. So we could scheme twice, maneuver twice, attack twice, or any combination of. So what I might actually do is play my heavy card. Now, one thing to bear in mind is you don't get to cycle through your deck. Your deck is limited. This lanyard card, once it's played, it's played. Now, it does tell me there's 3 copies of this card. So I've got another couple of 5s. This is a big attack, but I like it. And it will refill my hand again as well. So we're going to do a big attack on Mothman. The enemy, in this case the villain, draws a card from the top of their deck. This is potentially their defense card. We flip it and resolve any immediatelies. So we've got an immediately. Deal up to 2 damage to Annie. So she's currently on 13. Let's take her down to 11. I'm happy with taking her down. That's what her strength is for, to draw that many cards. So we're going to draw 2 cards. 1, 2. Keeping your hand full of cards is a great way to stay on top in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're still only at 6 cards because the only way to draw cards is to use one of your 2 actions, right? The maneuver action to draw a single card. Her necklace of pearls is not effective. She's at 11 health. Mothman's at 10, so she still doesn't get a +2. She's still ahead, right? She has to have less health than the defender, so that's not happening. So attack is 5. We've got a during combat effect on Mothman. Overwhelming Dread says during combat, increase the value of this card by +1 for each destroyed bridge. They've not destroyed any bridges yet, so it's a defense of 2 against an attack of 5. That's 3 damage to Mothman. It's a good defense, but 3 damage is 3 damage. So Mothman is down from 10 to 7. 10 health on Mothman in the solo with just a single player is not a lot. Now, if you wanted to adjust the difficulty, feel free. We'll have a look at those amazing event cards afterwards to see how to adjust the difficulty. But, you know, it's your game. You can customize it. If you want to go up against a 20 strength Mothman solo, go for it. Okay, or even 2 minions, right? You could do that. Customize your game how you want. All right, after combat, it says place Mothman in the closest empty starting space. All right, so Mothman is now going to run away. We don't have any after combats. These are discarded. I think the closest starting spot here is 1, 2, 3, 4 is up in the top right, and 5 in the middle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Only 3 movements to get them to starting spot 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So this is where they're coming. Now, just to help me, because I will forget otherwise, that's our first action. Now our second action. Right? I need some. When I'm filming, I do struggle a little bit sometimes to remember if I'm on my first or second action. All right, so second action. I wanted to hit the Mothman again with something like a few more pearls, but they've moved away, which I'm not happy with. But I do have a way of getting Charlie out of this situation, and that's with Captain's orders. Place Annie in any empty space in her zone. So her zone is this blue zone. So I can put her anywhere in here. Let's see here. And then it says, then place another friendly fighter in an empty space in Annie's zone. Now, Annie is in a dual zone. So does that mean Charlie can go in this zone as well? Or does it mean Annie's original zone? Well, I'm going to follow it as written and assume that means I could place it anywhere, even somewhere like this. That might be cheating it, but I'm following it by the letter, so let's assume it is. I mean, that's in Annie's. He's in Annie's zone. Yep, I'm happy with that. And then it says game 1 action, so we can actually go again. So I'm staying on second action, effectively. So now we could have Charlie attack with a card like Long Shot. During combat, the opposing fighter is not adjacent to your fighter. Remember, Charlie is ranged and is in a green zone. This card's value is 5 instead, so I might play this one and attack Mothman. Why not? Right, let's flip. Let's see what we get. Oh, it's an immediately cancel all effects on the opponent's card. So the Long Shot is cancelled, leaving us with an attack of 3 and a defense of 2, just 1 damage to Mothman. That wasn't so good. Okay, all right, right, that's action 2 over and ends our turn. And in fact, that ends the round. So, end of round, what do? We look at the initiative cards in the order we resolved them, and we're looking for the end of round effects. This one says, place an acid token in the blob's space if there's not one already there. There's not, so another acid token up there. These acid tokens, as blob spreads out, they can potentially impact that zone, that whole zone. So we've got to be careful. That blue zone's looking really dangerous. There's one down in here, there's one down in here. So there's one in Annie's zone, and in fact one in Charlie's as well. This green zone spreads all across the middle. It's town centre. Right, the next one is Mothman. It says advance the threat marker a number of spaces equal to 1 plus the number of doom tokens on the lowest number bridge. The lowest number bridge is here. It's got 1 doom token. So that's 1 plus 1, that's 2. We're advancing threat by 2. A little closer to destroying a bridge, but we're okay so far, not too bad. And that's it. Finally, we shuffle these up. And not easy to shuffle 3 cards, but there we go. And then we move to round 2. So we're all pretty healthy still because we've defended the attacks. Let's see what happens next. All right. First up is player 1. First up is me. Okay. Well, obviously, Charlie's at range here. And we could go in for the kill again. So why don't Charlie attack Mothman? Charlie's got a 3. It's called bottom dealing here. It says, during combat, reveal the bottom card of your deck and increase the value of this card by the boost value of the revealed card, and then I can put it on the top or the bottom. So we could be boosting up this attack. So it starts as a 3. Mothman is defending with a 3. It's got an after combat effect. So during combat then, we reveal the bottom card of your deck and we're looking for the boost value. That's a 4, that's a 2. Is it going to be something good? It's a 2. A few more pearls. I actually quite like that card. I'm going to stick that on top. So we've boosted by 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 defense is 2 damage. Mothman is down from 6 to 4. After combat, deal 1 damage to each adjacent opposing fighter. There's none adjacent. For each fighter damaged this way, add a doom token. So Mothman did not get to do his unimaginable terror on us. Okay, that's action 1. Action 2. Do we go in for the kill? Do we go in for the kill? That's an Annie card, that's an Annie card, that's a any card. So we've got an attack 4. It's going to leave us short of cards. Or do we maneuver Annie closer? I don't think we do. We kind of want them to do their attack and then we can move in. Although, I don't mind if Annie takes a hit. One option is we come to this bridge. We could come around this way. We could stay next to it. We are one next to this bridge. Reveal the top 2 cards of the enemy's deck and discard 1. So we could get a clue of how we might finish him off next time. We've got a few more pearls. 2 and 2. Next time, 2 actions. We could finish him off. This could be a quick action, a quick turn. So second action, maneuver. Adjacent to Mothman, who's here in the center. We're just going to hop over this bridge. Reveal top 2 cards of enemy's deck and discard 1. Yeah, so that's still a possibility. Do we want to move Charlie or keep him where he is? We could come down into this zone. We want to stay in the green, I think. Yeah, let's leave Charlie where he is. Remember, we've got 2 movement. We don't have to use it. So moving is optional. Oh, we do have to draw. We know what this card is because we've seen it already. It's a few more pearls. And then bridges. So special rules are, after we complete a maneuver action, you can discard a card to activate a bridge. I want this, I want this. We might just throw the better together. Though it is a good defense card. But no, we want to do this. We discard this. It's got a boost value of 1. If we were adjacent to more than one bridge, if we'd come over here, you can only activate 1 bridge per action. Okay, choose which one you want to activate. We're going to activate the suspension bridge, which is reveal the top 2 cards of an enemy's deck. So the top 2 cards of Mothman's deck. We've got a feint, immediately cancel all effects on opponent's card. So if we were to attack him, we wouldn't want that. This one's an unimaginable terror, so this is an attack 4. Deal 1 damage to each opposing. Yeah, I don't want this one, I don't think. We'll just discard the unimaginable terror. Okay, that's nice, so we know what's coming. It's their feint card. Relatively low numbers. And then we had a boost of 1, remember? Boost of 1. Whether we use the bridge's effect or not, we can now remove doom tokens up to the number of our boost, which is 1. So we can get rid of that 1 doom. Okay, that's our turn done. Who's next? I like it. Next is Mothman. So Mothman is adjacent to Ali Christmas. So he's not moving, he will be attacking, and he's going to attack with his, well, we know what this is, we saw it, it was the feint with attack 2. So, do we want to defend? I don't think we do. We're just going to keep these. We haven't got any defense anyway. We're happy with that. We flip it. Immediately cancel all effects on opponent's card. We didn't play a card. We're going to take 2 damage. So Annie is down from 11 to 9. That's fine. Next is going to be the blob. So blob's going to come in. They've got movement 3. We can choose where to put them. Shortest route actually is this way. So blob's coming in here because they always want to take the shortest route. So he's coming in here. He's going to draw a card. And again, do we want to defend? We don't have any defense cards, remember? So no, this is undefended. Now, this is potentially dangerous. Let's see what happens. It is. It's getting bigger. It's got an attack of 2. We didn't play a card. During combat, add 1 to the value of this card for each acid token in the blob's zone. Well, at the moment it's just 1. It's in the green zone. So it's an attack 2 plus 1. That's an attack 3. Then it says after combat, place an acid token in each empty space adjacent to the blob. you can't have more than one token of the same type in a space, so that's effectively not empty. They've only got one token left as it goes, but there's only one empty space. It's this one, and they've done 3 damage. Whew. Annie is soaking up the damage. She's from 9 down to 6. I think we're all right. End of round has been reached. Advance the threat by 1 plus lowest number, which is 0. So threat's going up just 1 spot. And then Blob places acid if there wasn't already one there, but there is. We're making this look easy now. And I think, well, it depends what happens next. Are we going to get an early turn or not? Could make all the difference, potentially. And he's got quite low. And yeah, without any defense cards in her hand, she has left herself really vulnerable. But Charlie, yeah, there's no cards for Charlie. We are vulnerable. Yeah, maybe that was not wise after all. Wow, can we get the initiative? And not great play, because it does mean it comes down a little bit to some good fortune. If they get some hard-hitting cards, we will be in trouble. And the Blob's going first. So let's see, we don't have any defense cards, which means there's not a great deal we can do in response to this. It's Caustic Spray. So it's 1 damage, 6 down to 5. And then it says, after combat, deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter for each acid token on or adjacent to their space. Well, we're okay. There's only 1 acid token adjacent, so that's 1 more damage. And Charlie's got none over there. That's Blob done. Come on, we need some luck now. Is it going to be us, or is it going to be the Moth? It's Mothman. Mothman takes a turn. What's it going to be? It's exciting stuff. It's a deception. It's a 0 attack and a 0 defense. Whenever this card is put into Mothman's discard pile, which is right now, because the Mothman did nothing, is a deception for Annie. This is the reshuffle card. Put this, shuffle it back into its deck, and the effect cannot be cancelled. All right, so that was good timing. That goes into there. It's a 0 attack, but all these mean cards that we've seen before are going to get back into Mothman's deck. Now it's us, and I think we can finish this off, because we've got 2 actions. Action number 1, we can deal 2 damage to each opposing fighter. That's 2 damage to the Blob and 2 damage to the Mothman. 2 and 2. The Mothman's down to 2 health. And you know what? We can do that again. A few more pearls. Mothman's down to 0. That's it. We have defeated it. And the Blob's down to 6. Victory is ours. We were lucky. We were lucky. And he was down to 4 health. We can make use of these bridges. I didn't get to show a bridge getting destroyed. And that's why you really need to ramp things up with, let's grab some more cards. And what we need is these amazing events. So with these thrown into the mix, we've got all sorts of things that can happen. So unexpected eclipse. At the start of each round, advance the threat marker by a space. They are rooted to earth. Player effects cannot cause an enemy to leave its space. Their strength grows. Add +1 to the value of all minion attacks. Right, so there's all sorts of effects. You must defeat all minions to win the game. All evil. So even though Mothman is down, we now have to finish off the Blob with Annie in a vulnerable position. So those sorts of things, all these sorts of effects are going to change up the game big time. I love it. I love the fact that they've added this variety. And as I say, you can make your villain stronger, your minions stronger, add as many minions as you wish. And of course, there's also the Martian invader to take on. There we go then, folks. That was an overview of Tales to Amaze Unmatched Adventures, the solo/co-op mode that you can play. Loved it. And this is really neat, just to get these things out, give them a quick match-up, a super way to play Unmatched with all your different heroes, villains, and minions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.